Dr. Joel Wallach joins us. He, of course, has published numerous books on dietary deficiencies, conducts approximately 300 lectures annually, has sold over 40 million copies of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Born and raised in Missouri, Dr. Wallach attended the University of Missouri and received a bachelor's degree in the science of agriculture. A veterinarian for 30 years, he worked as a veterinary pathologist at several institutes and universities, including Yerkes Regional Primate Research Center in Atlanta, where he discovered and identified the first animal models of, we're going to skip this break, guys, at the network, for cystic fibrosis monkeys. He found that he could reproduce their condition and will, because it was nutritional deficiency. Well, yeah, if you don't eat vitamin C, you'll get scurvy and your teeth will fall out and old wounds will open up. But people got scurvy all over the place. I talked to medical doctors. They won't tell you to take vitamin C when you have lesions all over your body. They just won't tell you what it is. Dr. Wallach then made the decision to go to medical school so he could treat children for cystic fibrosis himself. He taught nutrition at the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Oregon, became a primary care physician with a naturopathic degree. In 1997, Wallach established his very own company, American Longevity, now Youngevity. InfoWarsTeam.com, InfoWarsHealth.com. He consults and advises us there. Their entire spectrum, more than 400 products, are available there, discounted at the highest level. InfoWarsStore.com also has links to it. But that's not what we're getting into. We're getting into Angelina Jolie, what's triggering the genes to then cause the meltdown, why are the pediatric cancers off the charts, why is the diabetes off the charts. And I know Wallach is conservative, even though he's won in court over this, and won't say 100% they can cure diabetes type 2. But I now heard Governor Huckabee on this network with ads and on Fox News running ads saying that they can cure it. And what's amazing is the research shows you really can in many cases, or at least mitigate, but they won't tell people. But it means the dam must be breaking if Huckabee is out there doing this. What do you think the FDA says about that, Joel Wallach?
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for your time and your hospitality. I always appreciate you. When I'm on the road, I love listening to you and all your guests. But if you want to jump in right away on type 2 diabetes, so we've known for 70 years, Alex, it's a deficiency of a single mineral, type 2 diabetes, which makes up 98% of the population of diabetics in America. We can make it in America a diabetes-free country in 2 months if they were just to take all 90 essential nutrients with a little bit of extra, what we call the secret sauce that has that mineral in it. And it's so great to be able to do this. We can do this for church families. We're actually put proposals into small island nations that have only 280,000 citizens, and we're going to have to demonstrate this. We can eliminate type 2 diabetes in this little nation. It's the highest percentage. Obviously, if it's a small nation, it's not the biggest numbers, but percentage-wise, they have the highest rate of diabetes. And we will. Now,
that's if your pancreas isn't too far gone, though, right?
Well, actually, it has nothing to do with the pancreas. That's all a myth. When you have type 2 diabetes, there's nothing wrong with your pancreas. It's just there's a communication problem between the insulin produced by your pancreas.
So the receptors can't absorb it.
That's correct.
Let me ask you this question. How could Huckabee be running national ads saying basically what you're saying now? I mean, he's at the highest levels of the establishment. That must mean they know they can't stop this information coming out.
That's right. Well, I've been harping on this now for 36 years, Alex.
No, you're the granddaddy of exposing it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and so this is one of the reasons why the audio cassette tape and now the CD, which we've sold 280 million, by the way, the CD, 280 million. They're still going out the door at 50,000 a week. And this is one of the controversial things was back then, when it first came out in 1992, I said that type 2 diabetes is a simple mineral deficiency, and we can eliminate type 2 diabetes in weeks sometimes, but certainly within 2 months. And when we do this with an entire country, the world will not be able to fight it. Now, we've done it in animals over and over and over, and I knew it wasn't genetic when I did this big project with Marlin Perkins where I did 20,000 autopsies, 10 million chemistries, looking for pollution as a contributor to our health problems. I found that crocodiles and alligators got type 2 diabetes. And how does a crocodile and alligator get a genetic disease from humans? Our antelope and deer get sickle cell anemia, which is supposed to be a genetically transmitted disease in the African-American population. So I knew the genetics was not the answer way back in the 1960s. And that became part of the audio cassette tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie.
Well, what else is going on now? I mean, we've known for 50 years that folic acid, if you don't have it, you get deformities and low IQs. Now the feds are moving to block folic acid as a supplement. I mean, how obvious, in fact, that was in AP last week. I never covered it, guys. Type in feds move to block folic acid being added to bread and tortillas. When Latin America started doing it decades ago and saw a total reversal in deformities, my dad's been involved as a doctor in aid missions down there himself. I mean, how evil is the government that they don't want folic acid?
Well, this is only the tip of the iceberg, the folic acid thing. It's one of my 8 lawsuits against the FDA, which I prevailed each time, Alex. It was me and 4 other people who actually sued the FDA to force them to put folic acid in prenatal vitamins so that we could prevent spina bifida and hydrocephalus and hydrancephalus seals, many other birth defects. And we prevailed in federal court. And then they began to put folic acid in the prenatal vitamins. Until then, in 1947, we put folic acid in prenatal vitamins of animals, but doctors were saying, oh, that's just in animals, not people. And this is really horrible what happens. I want to throw a statistic at you. This is from the Center for Disease Control, the federal agency that tracks this, Alex, and it goes into the InfoWars concerns about the government doing things to injure the American people. Each year in America, this is from the CDC, it came out February 5th, 2007. It was a full-page newspaper story in the USA Today, full-page story. They said each year in America, medical doctors in their workplace, hospitals and clinics, kill and injure and infect 15 million Americans. 2 million in hospitals are infected, 90,000 die from these infections. Over 1 million are killed by doctors. They don't even get an OSHA ticket. What would happen if Iran or Iraq were to do that, or if North Korea were to do it with a biological weapon and infect 2 million people in a large population center and kill 90,000? It'd be war. Well, here's one trade that does it every year, and nobody seems to mind because of the greater agenda, as you point out. Okay.
What is the greater agenda?
Well, you cannot help but look at all these statistics and see that why could one trade kill, injure, and infect 15 million of their customers every year in their workplace? They don't even get an OSHA ticket. They have no oversight by any government agency. They've been a self-policing monopoly for 100 years, since 1914. And it's one of those crazy things that the government says, well, these guys must be doing something good. We're just going to leave them run because they're doing, they're kind of an irregular militia doing what we want them to do. We don't have to pay them. It's kind of a crazy thing. Well, medical doctors make their money by defrauding the American public. 85% of all personal bankruptcies are due to medical costs each year. And this is from the Institute of Medicine, the ethics watchdog for the medical trade. This came out in, let's see here. Oh, it was September 7th, 2012, full-page story in every newspaper in America. They said each year in America, medical doctors fraudulently bill 30 cents out of every dollar to insurance companies and patients for their services. This amounts to $750 billion a year. $750 billion a year is that's 3/4 trillion. 1/3 of the medical budget is fraudulent billing. Bernie Madoff went to jail for life plus 150 years for defrauding his investors at $3 billion. Here's one trade that does $750 billion yearly, year after year after year, and nobody does anything to them. So we as the American people have to do what we did in the days we were fighting King George in England. We have to use a different service. We stopped using tea because he wouldn't let us have representation in England. We went to coffee. We're going to have to begin to do these things ourselves, and this was the purpose of the book, Let's Play Doctor.
Well, Dr. Joel Wallach is our guest, and if you just tuned in, this is earth-shaking information. Again, the pediatric cancers are up over 10,000%, diabetes up over 3,000%, type 2. I know so many parents that got vaccines in the last year, and suddenly their 2-, 3-, 4-year-olds have failure in their pancreas from pancreatitis. They go to the doctor, and they say, oh, you've now got type 1 from your genetics, even though their families don't have it. They're covering that up. That the vaccines are triggering some type of problem in the pancreas. And then I read the inserts of the MMR shot, and it says may give you pancreatitis and may give you diabetes. What about that, Dr. Wallach?
Well, again, they always look at, and this is criminal. You point out very clearly, Alex, you're quite correct. This is criminal because they say, well, you have to weigh the benefit to the greater good versus the perhaps harm to the individual. And so seriously, everything that the FDA approves has one of the major side effects is death. Everything that the FDA approves of has a major side effect of death. Everything. Think of how many drugs you've seen over the years that are FDA approved. Within a year or two, they're getting recalled because of a high death rate. Well, they knew that before they approved it and put it on the market.
And they give them a slap on the wrist.
Exactly. And of course, these drugs are all designed to treat symptoms. None of them are designed to cure anything. Where nutrients, as you pointed out quite clearly, with scurvy, cures things. Let's just take congestive heart failure, the most common cause of heart death.
Stay there, Dr. Wallach. I want to walk through all this and tie it into Angelina Jolie on the other side of this break. I want to talk about hydrofluorosilicic acid and more. Dr. Joel Wallach, a literal icon who helped defeat the FDA and save the nutraceutical industry over and over again. We all owe him a debt of gratitude. The man is a legend when you actually know the facts. Dr. Joel Wallach, we're going to hold you a little bit over if you can do it. If you got to jump, I understand. I know you're a busy man, but what do you make of Angelina Jolie having her ovaries removed, again, saying because she's genetically bad? What's really going on there? Having her breast cut off as well. A lot of women going and having this done now.
Well, I appreciated when you introduced that at the beginning of your show today. You said, well, next thing is she'll have her brain taken out to avoid brain cancer.
Yes.
And I've been saying the same thing for years. And basically,
I know, that's where I heard it. I listened to your show.
Okay. Well, basically, this is a thing where the medical doctors are using people's fears to just get work. And it's a tragic thing. And absolutely, if you look at the title, the subtitle of the book, Epigenetics, The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission, there are no genetically transmitted diseases. Your genes, let's say you have the potential to be 200 cancer-free, but you're living on soft drinks and hot dogs and cake and popcorn, and you're going to, as you pointed out, very well done, that you're going to die of something at 36 when your grandparents have the same genes. They live to be 102, but they didn't do all the bad things you did. And
break down the difference when we come back. 70 seconds. Absolutely. InfoWarsHealth.com, folks. Get the Alex Pack. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Filtered water, get the nutrients we need, exercise, and then love our families, love our neighbors, and build a better world and engage in independent free market activities and vote with our dollars to support folks that promote freedom. We do that, we can beat the globalist. Dr. Joel Wallach, I've been running over you. You've got the floor for the rest of this short segment and a little bit into the next. Please continue with your breakdown of Angelina Jolie. Because her mother had cancer and the rest of it. First it's her breast, then her ovaries. That's what I said last year when she had her breast removed. Will she remove all sexual tissue next? I mean, it's just tough because, that's where she has the, quote, predisposition. I mean, what should she do instead of removing her ovaries?
Well, there's two things that cause cancer, Alex. Number one is that people eat the bad stuff that create and initiate and stimulate the genesis or the cause of cancer, and then they eat bad things that drive it faster, and they don't take the 90 essential nutrients which will support their immune system to protect them from cancer. For instance, there's a wonderful study that came out in 1998 by the University of South Carolina, big study, and all they did was look at the way that women cooked their food. And women who ate their meat cooked well done, just very well done, where the fat was burnt and crunchy, and it's tasty, people like that. It increased the risk of breast cancer by 462%. If they cooked their meat medium rare, it reduced the risk of breast cancer by 462%. And then when you look at supplementation with certain minerals, Dr. Gerhard Schrauzer, who's one of the third authors of the book Epigenetics, a great guy, he discovered the essentiality of the mineral selenium, and he did a wonderful study on selenium and breast cancer. And he came out and said, hey, all cancers, you can reduce your risk of prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer by 82% by supplementing with 200 micrograms of selenium every day. And so between supplementing with antioxidants, things like resveratrol, quercetin, turmeric, vitamin C, vitamin A, beta-carotene, and then you throw in minerals like gallium to prevent brain cancer, enormous numbers of studies in England that had very large amounts of brain cancer in children. They supplemented the pregnant women with gallium, and they didn't get brain cancer in the kids anymore. Big stuff, and all this is in the book Epigenetics. And so all these things where they form these these groups where they raise money for the research to find the gene. That's absolutely fraudulent stuff because there's not a single gene that actually causes any disease. The genes are a potential for health up to 200, maybe beyond 200 years. You give your genes, your DNA, your RNA, and your telomeres, little end caps in your chromosomes, everything they need, the 90 essential nutrients. You're going to maximize your genetic potential for longevity and for health and fending off disease. But if you live on these diet drinks and eat a lot of sugar and eat a lot of fried foods, that's why there's no pastors who tend to be very religious or truthfully very religious people. They love God. And they all die in their 60s, 70s, and 80s because they love them so much, give them fried chicken after church every Sunday. And that's what kills them. And if they would avoid the fried chicken and take the Alex pack every day, we'd have pastors living to be beyond 100, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's just that simple. In the animal industry, we've eliminated 900 different diseases using these 90 essential nutrients that still plague people. In 2012, there was a wonderful study in Food Chemistry, a very well-respected scientific journal, where they normally look at the nutritional value of our foods plus the pollutant loads in foods. I read it every month. And that particular issue, April 16th, 2012, they said commercially available baby foods like Similac, things like Gerber's, Enfamil, others, have less than 20% of the required minerals and vitamins for kids. Well, that's why our kids are going to die before us.
And that's why their IQs are dropping and why they're so stupid and why the cancer is exploding. And all the studies you mentioned are in the book. They spent all over the news that if you burn your meat, it's going to give you colon cancer, breast cancer, but people just don't want to listen. Everybody should go to InfoWarsStore.com and get the book Epigenetics. Everyone should go to InfoWarsHealth.com. Bookends on this with Dr. Joel Wallach, who is the best-selling author of Dead Doctors Don't Lie, that we sell at InfoWarsStore.com, and Epigenetics. Everybody should read Epigenetics, The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease and Transmission. Everyone needs to know that genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger, and that it's not, oh, everybody's getting cancer because we got bad genes. You got the same genes as your grandparents. In your grandparents' day, there was not cancer in children. Didn't exist. It was like finding a lucky leprechaun riding a unicorn for doctors to go study it. Now it is pandemic, epidemic everywhere. You can't throw a dart and not hit some kid with cancer. And Dr. Joel Wallach has been breaking it down from his zoological studies as a top government veterinarian when he discovered this in animals. And then he went off and got degrees and the rest of it to be working on humans. And he, of course, has hundreds of millions of copies of his books and CDs are out there. He's made a major effect. And if you just joined us, his organization the last 30 years has sued. We've had his lawyers on. They're rated as the top lawyers that go after the FDA 8 times. You want to know who's helped in Congress save the supplement industry and saved medical choices and saved your rights to get to herbs? Dr. Wallach Longevity. That's another reason to shop at InfoWarsHealth.com. Because you're supporting my broadcast, you're supporting their organization. You get 30% off the retail that's listed there when you sign up to be a distributor. You can get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. And you're supporting on every front victory. So thank you all for your support. Dr. Wallach, you got 2 or 3 minutes. I know you got to go. Put bookends on what we're talking about here and what we're dealing with. And as you said, we've got to take over. We've got to get aggressive. We've got to change our lives, change other people's lives. We've got to demonstrate, as we're doing, the truth with simple things like if you eat processed meat or heavily cooked meat, as you said, 500+% increase in breast cancer or colon cancer, major studies. That is just, we're going to continue to put that information out to people. Doesn't matter what the government says.
We appreciate you for that, Alex. You're definitely the warrior that's getting the information out, and we can't thank you enough. We have to save our kids because they are our future. They're the future of America. And right now, experts are telling us, and I believe this, that if we don't do something about it, our kids will be the first generation who do not live as long as their parents in America. 50% of Americans will be burying their children. It's just outrageous. We're supposed to have the best medical system in the world. No, we have the worst. We have the most expensive, but not the best. And to save our kids, we've got to get them on the 90 essential nutrients. And before they're conceived, all through the pregnancy they're developed in, from the moment they're born. So when they get old enough to have their own kids, they will be steeped in these 90 essential nutrients, prevent every birth defect you can name and 10 times that many you can. And we're talking about everything. We're talking about spina bifida. We're talking about cerebral palsy. We're talking about heart defects, cleft palate, cleft lip, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy. We're talking about things like okay, and so we're talking about every birth defect you can name, including transgender kids. These are actually made at the 3rd to 7th week of pregnancy because the mother's missing nutrients, and this is preventable. Transgender kids are something you got to love them where they're at, but we don't necessarily have to have any more transgender kids born. Okay, and this is something when somebody gets married, instead of giving them a set of towels with their monogram on it, you give them all 90 essential nutrients. They get engaged, you give them all 90 essential nutrients instead of a set of linens. And we will save America.
This is so extreme. Next, you're going to say that humans need oxygen and that plants need carbon dioxide. I mean, you're saying we need vitamin C and vitamin D and iodine? You're saying that we need selenium? I mean, this is, well, it's like saying fish need water to live in. That is extreme. Well, it's so bizarre that you would teach something alternative to the government. You're just an extremist.
Well, just to kind of end it up in a sentence or two, doing what we're doing, just eating well, trying to get everything we need would be the same thing as putting Texas dirt into your car. Put 6 quarts of Texas dirt in your car instead of oil. And you say, well, there's probably some oil in there because it's Texas dirt. And that's how insane it is to just eat well and expect to get everything you need. Ask Steve Jobs how that worked for him. He died at 56 because he ate well, cooked everything in extra virgin olive oil. And he died of a cancer that's produced by his diet. His chef killed him as sure as he shot him in the head.
Break down briefly that diet.
Well, the diet is no bad stuff, no fried foods, no processed meats with nitrates, nitrites, no oils, including olive oil and coconut oil, absolutely no gluten, no wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And then you have to supplement with the 90 essential nutrients. There's zones on Earth. There's 20 places on Earth where people have them naturally in the soil, and they're still burning wood and taking the wood ashes and putting them in their gardens, so they're getting those minerals recycled. That ended for us here in America at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, when Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. Everybody flipped over to electricity, stopped burning wood. We had no more wood ashes to put in our garden. And that was at the beginning of the end. In 1936, U.S. Senate Document 264 came out. U.S. Senate Document 264 came out and said there's no longer enough nutritional minerals in our soil to support human health.
So they started artificially adding just a few, but it's not what we need. Dr. Wallach of Dead Doctors Don't Lie, fame, and, of course, the new book, Epigenetics, InfoWarsHealth.com. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, God bless you, Alex, for all the great stuff you do. Thank you so much for your hospitality. Look forward to working with you for another 100 years, buddy.
All right, he's awesome. And, again, if you go to InfoWarsHealth.com or InfoWarsTeam.com, you can order online there.